Hello, welcome to another live stream. Hopefully my audio's coming through. I'm gonna check it real quick. Check it real quick. Okay, I do hear myself. It is kinda, I'm gonna turn it up a little bit. All right, so got a little bit different setup here today. Hopefully y'all are able to hear things. And hopefully this isn't my son who's in detention today from school. Hopefully that's not you. Anyway, today's different. I'm set up in a different part of the lab. I'm usually over there where my wire bending is, and that's usually where I do the wire bending. But today, like I mentioned, I think it was a last episode or a couple episodes ago, we're going to do acrylic. So that's what we're doing today. We're going to do some acrylic. I have my overhead cam here. There's that camera. I have a pressure pot cam. I got some questions from, I think, Diana last time about my pressure pot. So I'm going to show you how I put it in, how I put my acrylic into the pressure pot and things like that. I do have a duct cam. It's not very good today. If you see me looking down, I got my video switcher here, but here's my duct cam. It is not very good. As you can see, it is, wait, don't I have banners here? Where's my duck cam? Oh, that's it, baby chick cam. Well, I don't have baby chicks out there. You might see a chicken run by every once in a while, but if I see some ducks run by, I'll throw it out there. But couldn't set up a camera outside. This is actually shooting from my sink window over there. So that's where it's shooting from. Anyway, it looks like we got a full house today. Let's see. Got some comments here. Okay. Yeah, Luciano. Yeah, rainy afternoon. As you can see, it is a beautiful sunny day here. It's supposed to get up to 90 degrees, I believe, here in Texas today. So we are getting ready for that. I am actually on time today because I actually have a hard stop. We won't go a full hour today. Hopefully this doesn't take me long to sprinkle. I got 4 models to sprinkle, but I do have a meeting I got to get to that's an hour away. So I got to go do that. So without further ado, let's get started. Today we're going over, like I said, doing acrylic models. I got 4 models. They're all 3D printed. They're actually from all the same doctor. There's a little bit of difference between each of them. So I thought they were good to cover in this. Some of the goals I'm going to try to cover is what acrylics, how I use to sprinkle my acrylics, how I use to kind of manage them. Sometimes I'll sprinkle 2 at a time just to help me manage the setup of them. And that's about it. So let me switch to this camera. And this has a special note on there. You can see I did not adapt this very well. Right here, let me zoom in. Right here, I didn't adapt it very well. There's an actual space between here and here. And so they wanted me to make sure I gave enough room for this canine to move around to connect to this. So I had to put this wire against this tooth. So that being said, today we have tinted clear, which is this. I have my polymer here, my white polymer, my tinted clear. And this is my crystal clear. So this is just your standard, what your monomer usually looks like. It's usually this clear monomer acrylic look to it. This one's tinted clear, so it actually counteracts the natural yellowing of the regular monomer. So there's a little bit of light violet in there. And I have seen, I want to say it was Steve Zara has a video on this if you want to look on his channel. How he uses regular clear. He makes his own tinted clear, and he uses a little bit of violet or light violet monomer, and he drips it in here, and that's what makes tinted clear. So this is going to be an ultra clear retainer when we're done. So how I usually start is I usually just start with some monomer on there, and the reason for that is if I add this acrylic here. I didn't put monomer on this side, so if I shake it off, notice this polymer stayed because I had monomer on there, so it's sticking to it. This side, it just fell off, especially with these 3D printed models. That it happens a lot. So I usually start with monomer. I know there's a kind of a debate. Do you start with polymer? Do you start with monomer? I usually start with monomer. So I do a couple layers of clear. Now this whole thing is going to be clear. But I do have a name that I have to put in these. It's just state law here. And cover it up. And I actually put it on the tissue side, so it, and maybe when I take one of these apart, you can see the inside. I put it in upside down or backwards, mirrored, I guess. I don't print it mirrored. I just put it in there where it's when you read it, you read the tissue side of it. So now I'm just going to lightly put a coat of polymer here. And just gently drip the monomer. This bottle I have a monomer in it is called a Boston Round, and this is a needle tip. Again, so I'll start with monomer and start with some polymer, and I'll wet the polymer. Now look, I'm trying to make it as wet as possible. I want it to get up underneath that wire right there. There's different techniques you can use when doing this. There is a pre-form, pre-mold technique, which you actually mix all this in a cup first, and then you just kind of mold it into place. So it's the dough method, I guess. So I'm actually going to take my finger. Oh, I meant to put gloves on. I was trying to be proper. But you can see each drop, how it spreads. Now I'm going to start putting thinner layers. I'm just going to kind of almost dust it on there. I'm going to let that sit for a little bit. Let me put some gloves on. You know, let's make this. Perfect timing, because I got an orange thumbs up for my orange hand. So I like these gloves. They're like what you would use to change oil with. I use them to change my oil too. I don't tend to use them a lot whenever I'm doing acrylic. Mainly I just used to using my hands, but I do immediately wash my hands afterwards. I do not like the feel of the acrylic on my hands when I'm done, especially I usually go straight to wire bending afterwards. So I've given this a few minutes to set up. I'm just putting some dust on there. The textured part is coming off on that. Can you see that? That's hilarious. So I like to take a sharp knife. You can take a little bit of monomer, put it on your knife to kind of lubricate it a little bit, and I'm just gonna cut through the acrylic. Now, to me, with 3D printed models, this is very important. Now, with the plaster models, you probably don't need to do cuts. I do it on all my models, all my sprinkling of acrylic, just to, you know, make it consistent, make my technique consistent. But as you can see, as it was sitting up, you can see a little bit of you see this clear little, let's see if I can zoom in a little bit. There's a little bit of a clear coating. That's my separator. And it's actually trying to pull out from underneath that. So I'm going to kind of try to cut through it real quick. There we go. Pull that off. Or I'll just leave it be. Just leave it be, Cade. Just leave it be. I can see this is a little bit. So I'm looking at how shiny it is. And another thing you can do, that cutting it, pre-cutting it, okay, so it does a couple things. Obviously, it reduces the trimming time because you don't have to trim all that out now. The other thing it does, it gives your knife some purchase. So whenever this is done, I can just slide my knife up underneath here. It adds a little grip for your knife to get up underneath. Sometimes it's hard when it's just tapered off beforehand. And then it also lets you look at your thickness. You know, you want 2 to 3 millimeters of thickness for your acrylic, and this will let you know if you know are you thin in the back or not, especially up there in the top of the palette. So this is actually ready to go, and I'm going to go ahead and put this one in the pressure pot. So let's switch cameras here. So I have my pressure pot here. If you can see, I have a red bucket here. All this is attached down here with the pressure, the compressor air, and then of course a plug going to my heated. So this is a self-heating pressure pot and self-regulating pressure pot that pressurizes with air, and that you want 22 pounds of pressure, so this keeps it at 22 pounds. But inside, this is what I've been asked about. I do have a coffee cup. Hopefully you can see that. And this is a trick I got from my ex-boss, Jason Brown. He just uses coffee cups, turns them upside down, makes a nice little platform to get that initial set. Now, that's really good for plaster models, because as I've shown before in previous videos, if you drop it directly in the model and you haven't pre-soaked your base, your plaster base, it's just going to bubble through the acrylic. So either you have to pre-soak, or you have to use the steam method, which is pretty much what this is. I'm using the steam method for this first pressure. I'm going to put the thing on here, and I got a little switch back here, and I'm going to pressurize it. And so that goes up to 22 pounds of pressure, and it just maintains that. There's a regulator back here, and that's where you set the pounds, the pressure. And even if you have a small leak, as I can hear it, I can hear a small leak in here somewhere. Things right here. That's why I got a piece of tape on here. I do have a small leak, but it maintains 22 pounds of pressure no matter what. I did used to have another pressure pot that I had to air up with like a Schrader valve kind of thing. But you always had to keep an eye on it, because if you did have a small leak, the pressure would go down, and then you'd lose the pressure, and it would not ruin the acrylic, but you get little tiny air bubbles in there. But I like this one. This is from Great Lakes. It's especially made just for them. But yeah. So that was one. And I put my case pan here usually, and just stack them up over here. Let's see if I can get a preview going. Picture in picture. Let's do this, and then this, and then this, and we can move to the next one. So it's the same one. If you noticed before, these are going to be soldered C's, so I'm going to put C clasp right here on the 4s, but I do not have them on here yet. So my very first video in January, my very first live stream, we actually did some soldered C's, and that was real important, because that's what we're doing today. We're doing soldered C's on here, and they are I do them after the acrylic is done. So I do the labial bow just like this, and then I sprinkle the acrylic and pull it off, and then add this solder C's later. It just, for some reason, it's easier if the acrylic's already on there. I tend to get this torqued, trying to get this laser welded on here, and the heat's too much, you know, something. Anyway, this is another special case. This actually has a screw on here. Some people call it a jack screw, but this is just a tiny screw, just a 1-tooth screw. This is what this doctor likes. They do make some really cool ones that you put a key in and you twist it, and it's spring loaded, but I don't have the opposing. He didn't send it, but I'm assuming this is in crossbite and he needs to push it out. So we're actually going to sprinkle around this. What color is this? Tinted clear again, so nothing fancy as far as the colors today, but There we go. Oh, look, my wife. She's out there feeding the ducks. She's gonna hate that I showed her on there. All right, let's go back. Okay. So I'm actually going to, this is nice because I don't have to deal with colors, but usually I would just do this side with the color, and then this side I would just always do clear so they can see this little arrow, and that arrow is the direction that they activate it. I know it's gonna be a little bulky. That's why I use this type of screw. What's this? Super micro mini sectional screw. It has this blank spot on the back here. All right, so let's get started. I usually start with this right side, and again, I'm gonna add some acrylic or add some monomer. I tend to make it pretty wet because A, again, I'm putting a name in there, and B, I want the acrylic to make sure and go up underneath that wire. I don't want to cause any air bubbles or anything just from making it too dry. So let me get this name in here, and then I'm going to cover it. Well, come on, name, get where I want you to go. Let's just move this. There we go. So then I'm going to slow down my monomer. Just put drops. You notice how they don't spread very good? I'm going to put another coat on. I'm going to show you what you can do to get it to spread. Now I'm going to use my finger and I'm going to pat the acrylic. This will help get rid of any air bubbles or anything. I don't like that texture. I might take these gloves off. But you can see it spreads just a little bit better than before I patted it down with my finger. So I'm just going to build this up to where I think it's 3 or so millimeters of acrylic. Drip my monomer on. And I'm just going to dust it with some acrylic just to hold it in place. I'm going to take these gloves off. They're getting in my way. The texture is not helping me. So let's start on this side. And notice I sprinkle half and half. The lowers I do in 3 sections. The uppers I do in 2 sections. Now what I did to add this screw on here, and it's just sticky waxed on, so that orange sticky wax stuff y'all have seen me use, I've just cut, there's a lower part to this, a plastic piece, and I've cut that. Oops, notice this is getting a little shiny on this side, so I'm going to dust it a little bit just to, that means I put too much monomer, which is, you know, pretty much what I do. I put too much monomer. I'm just going to kind of build this up layer by layer. So you always got to keep, notice I said a sprinkle in 2 halves. You always got to keep an eye on the other half because it may start slumping on you. When it's really shiny like this, it's very ready to slump. Again, I'm going to start slowing down my dispensing of the monomer. And you can let that sit for just a second. See how glossy and shiny that is? If I wasn't holding it like this, if I was holding it straight, that would just start to slump like crazy in there. So I'm just going to dust it. There we go. Now I think I'm done here in the middle. I'm going to work on this screw. And I'm just giving it just enough to cover that screw. Again, the doctor knows it's going to be bulky. I'm not sure what they do once they get that tooth. Maybe they end up making another Holly retainer. Once they get that tooth kicked out where they want it. I mean, they only want it a couple millimeters. So there we go. I think this side is definitely ready for cutting. This side is not. So I'm going to cut this side first. Again, I like to, it depends on your doctor's preference. This doctor likes them that I include the second molars, or the sevens. So I'm going to cut half of this right here. Alright, see how that got glossy? So I'm just going to dust this just a little bit more and give it just a little bit of time. And in that time, I can go ahead and get ready for the second one. I've got a raspberry one and a turquoise one. So now we're getting some color on these next ones. Okay, so that should be enough time. Now this is really close to the edge. This is my fault for designing this scanned model like this. So I'm actually just going to scrape this edge. And that should give me a good division line. Maybe I'll dig out a little bit there. A good division line to put my knife in there to separate this. And I'm going to cut this. I'm going to cut it lower than where I would usually go up higher here. But since this screw's here, I'm going to go a little lower just in case. I need that extra room to taper down that hump. Obviously, it's going to be a little annoying for the patient. They'll have to wear this a lot to get used to it. I do want the acrylic to encapsulate this whole 7, the lingual of the whole 7. I'm missing just a dot of acrylic here. So I'm just going to put just a little bit right there. I got to be real careful that I don't put this on that cut area over here, because I've removed the separator. And once you do that, you're pretty much screwed. If you remove the separator and then add acrylic to it, it's gonna stick. It's gonna stick like you never put separator on there at all. Just that one little spot will make the whole thing stick. So it looks like we're good. I don't see it converting to shiny monomer or shiny acrylic anywhere. So I think this is ready. Now, one thing you can do, if you're afraid it's going to slump while it's in the pressure pot before it sets up, I like to put just a little bit of powder right here. So that should help absorb any excess slumpage, should kind of stop it from slumping. It's helped me in the past. The monomer will soak that up and hopefully not up against the model. So let's put that in the pressure pot. Now this is where the cup comes in handy. Now I'm going to take this one, I'm going to drop it in the water and put this on the cup. And so I've mentioned that before. I don't know if I've ever really showed it very well, where I just I take what's on the cup, put it in the water, put what I'm putting in there, put it on the cup, and it's just an endless cycle as I go. So by the time I put the last one on, there should be 3 in the water, 1 on the cup. You can come back about 5 or 10 minutes later and put what's in the cup in there. So before I start this next one, let's see, let's do this one. Now, one thing I do, do I have questions? Oh, I do. You're my wire bending superhero. Thank you. Sorry if my sound is messed up here, but I appreciate that. Do you ever drill a hole in a model to set the screw lower so it's not so bulky? Yes. That for plaster models, it'll work for both, actually. I've done both. I really like doing that on a lower, like a lower Schwartz or something. Put it right there on the lower. You can do that. Sometimes it's hard when you go to take it out because you have a thing in there trying to pull, but it's not a big deal. But yeah, I'll cut the bottoms of those. Let me see if I have a screw here. This is the screw I used in that, called a super microsectional screw, and you can see how long it is. So it's got a nice handle on here, and you can cut this. Now, one thing that my ex-boss, Jason Brown, who I interviewed a few episodes back, one thing that he does is he actually sprinkles, and then he'll sprinkle a couple layers of acrylic, and then he'll set the screw in there. So like if you're doing it in the middle with the big screw, he'll just sprinkle the whole thing and then set the thing in the acrylic. While the acrylic's starting to set up and gel up, he'll set it in the acrylic and then sprinkle over it, which is another way of doing this. But what I did in this case, like if I was doing it on this side, I actually just took some cutters and I cut the edge, and I actually took a burr and tapered it. But yes, you can for sure take a handpiece, drill a hole, and then just stick this in there. I actually like to put pink wax in that hole and then squish this into the pink wax to hold it. And then after the pink wax sets up, I ease it out, and then you can scrape off the top of the pink wax. I actually have a video. If you look back in my library, or go to my website, designerretainer.com, and then type in screw, and you might be able to find it there. I think I have it for some videos I did for the CDT exam. So go to designerretainer.com, and no name, he does it with the screw. Yeah. So if y'all want to see that, if y'all other ones want to see that, other people watching want to see that, go to Designer Retainer. Not, my username here is Retainer Designer, but if you go to designerretainer.com, and if you search, there's a search button, a little magnifying glass. If you search that, then you should be able to find screw or something like that. And I think I have a video of me actually drilling a hole, filling it with pink wax, and while the pink wax is still setting up, I push the screw in. Sometimes I still have to trim that screw in, depending on the size of the mouth, but I'll push it into that soft molten wax, and then after the pink wax sets up, I'll pull the screw out and then scrape it smooth. But I never did really like doing the acrylic. I never really liked doing the acrylic the way Jason did. It's pretty neat that you can just add a screw without thinking about it, but I was always afraid I was going to get that just ever so slightly off. Off of midline. So anyway, let's start with this next one. What is this color? This is turquoise. So I have my most famous colors over here. My most used colors. So I have turquoise, carabine blue, red, purple, and then cobalt blue. Why is this violet here? And then all the ones I don't use as much up here. So I have my turquoise bottle. And again, so I'm going to try to do these at the same time. Again, I'm going to start with a little bit of a clear layer. I'm going to do them at the same time. I'm going to start one, and then while it's setting up, I'm going to start the other one. I do this on a lot of my, especially when I do have upper and lower cases. I'll probably sprinkle the upper first, and then while the upper one's doing its initial set, where I can cut it without it slumping, I'll start on the lower one while that's setting up. All right, get in there. Sometimes it sticks pretty hard to my. So then I'm going to add a little acrylic. And this is where I do a lot of the fill in, where I try to set the thickness. A lot of it has to do with your keeping the tip of your powder clean, where you get a constant flow coming out. So let me build this up again. You see how that doesn't spread too well? So if I pat the rest of this down, and again that helps, settle the powder in. You see how well it spreads now. Now that kind of looks blue in the picture. So I think I got the thickness I want. I'm just going to set some powder. Let's just do it again. Now, I was saying before, all these models are just a bit different. The first one was just plain. This one, I have a spring on this canine. They want to move it in position. I think they're going to put a crown on here. And so I've already pre-waxed it. So I just put acrylic right over the top of it. And then I do my steamer, which I think y'all have seen that before. And I just steam out the wax once I get this off of the model. Again, I just do a coat of clear. I always do a coat of clear. That way the name is read really well. And the wires, I can see whenever I'm trimming them, I can see them easier, especially with really dark colors like blue or black or something like that. And opaque colors. I'm not using any opaque colors. I just realized these are all monomer colors. All right, let's do one more. And you can see right where I connect those two sides together, right in the middle, I tend to spend a little bit of time just putting a little bit of powder in there, fill up any kind of seams or anything like that. And you can sit here and watch this. So I'm going to pat this down. I'm going to put just a little bit more monomer. Now that I got that seam that connecting the two sides together, I got that pretty even right there. And I'm just going to dust it. And this kind of freezes it. So now while that's doing its initial set, I'm going to set that aside. I'm going to grab my next case pan. And this is actually a spring aligner. And everything looks crooked because the mouth is crooked. But I'll start on the labial acrylic. Again, I'm using this tinted clear. And you can see it's getting glossy over here. So I'm keeping an eye on that. I'm going to dust some on there while it's doing its initial set. And again, like I said, this has labial acrylic, so I'm going to go ahead and do the labial part on here. And I always do my labial acrylic first. You'll find with, colored acrylics and monomers and stuff that it will always spill over. So if you do like turquoise here and you spill some over onto the front teeth, before you do your acrylic, you're going to trap that color in there. So I'm going to let that sit. And as you can see, we're just getting to a matte finish here, which is nice. That's what I'm looking for. I'm just going to add just a little bit. And I usually, on these spring aligners, now this model I have reset these teeth digitally and then printed the model. I tend to always get a bubble there. So I'm going to pat that a little bit. So these mushroom spring type, I always make the mushroom spring clear. It's just what I do. You can make them colored if you want. It's just how I do this. And then see how that's glossy? I'm going to just add a little dusting on there. And I go right into cutting this one. So this should be ready to go. You can really tell when you make your first cut, you can just peel it off in one chunk. I love that. And so you got a nice clean cut right there. And so I'm going to cut here. I'm going to bring that same cut around, cut here, and then cut up here. So now I use my little scooper side of this. You see how that just peels right off. I'm just gonna try to scoop this out. I was thinking I hear Pete, but I think that's just a regular chicken. Do I see it? I don't see it. I don't see a chicken over there. Oh, what? That's kind of my security cam view. I do have a security cam that overlooks that so we can see what's going on from the house. So I'm going to add a little bit of powder here. Now look, oh good, I've added enough powder there. Added enough powder there. All right, so to the pressure pot. These are a little complicated to learn to use. I'm going to take this and put it in the water, put this on the cup. Now with these 3D printed models, again, you don't have to soak them, right? You don't have to soak them, but you can put them directly in the water. I've done it before. The only thing I worry about is maybe water getting up if I made my cut and then accidentally lifted the acrylic. Water will get underneath there and float the acrylic. That hadn't happened yet, but I am worried about that. Now this one almost made turquoise. This is actually raspberry, or raspberry is how I have to say it, so I'll spell it right. So this is a really, really pretty color. So I'm going to use a little bit of clear. The bad thing about these is there's so much wire in a not so big area. Take my name. So if y'all don't know, my wife makes these names, and then we use a Brother P-Touch labeler. We use white on clear. We found white letters. We used to use black on clear, but the white shows up way better on 99% of all the colors. Now, even the white powder, this is stuck to this happens sometimes. I grab it too hard. There we go. Stuck to my finger. Get off. There we go. Oops, I got a little turquoise in there. Little gift for you, kid. Little turquoise. Did I get it? I think I did. All right. So we use a Brother P-Touch labeler, like font size 6 or 7, and she'll print all these at once. She'll check in, 10 or 15 cases at once and print 10 or 15 labels, and then she'll cut them all out, which is the tedious job, and then she'll attach them to the metal clip of the case pan. So this side won't connect to the other side. So if you've seen my spring aligner videos before, I use a pretty thick bar in here. It's right here. It's a 051 bar, about the thickness of an RPE arm. And so it holds the two sides together. Just gonna pat this just to kind of get my thickness right. Usually with colored polymer, I'll use a clear coat on top. So it's almost sandwiched. Clear coat underneath the wires, mainly so I can see the name and the wires. And then I'll put a clear coat polish on top. So you really got to make that, especially with these spring aligners. There's a lot of wires going on in the small area. So you kind of got to make that first acrylic application, you got to make it kind of runny. I'll let that sit. This is getting a little glossy on this side. It's kind of scaring me. So I'm just going to add a little polymer. And yeah, you can, if you want to save on your monomer color, most of the time colored monomer is more expensive than just plain clear. So sometimes you just want to add a couple, 2 or 3 layers of the colored monomer and then just finish out with clear. Same thing with the colored polymers. It's getting a little glossy there. And I'm just going to pat that, make sure I feel that there's no divots or any thin spots. I'm going to go back and I'm going to do some cuts. I'm just going to cut just distal to that first upright. Come on, get off of there. I'm going to cut right next to the incisal edge, and just peel off the monomer there. I'm going to put that right back down and start peeling off the inside. This has already got this to set up. I'm a little late to the game. You can actually see it frosting a little bit, especially in this part. You can see just tiny little air bubbles in here. I don't know, get it in the right light. Anyway, so since I've cut it, I think I'm good. Separating that later, and I'm going to cut here, pull that away, and I'm going to cut underneath here. It's good to know if you did your own wire bending where your wires are at all times, because that's the worst. I still do it today. I'll cut and I'll do the cut wrong, and I'll cut right into a wire, and then you're just kind of, if it was a plaster model, you could just add more acrylic on there, but not with these 3D printed models, because once you make this cut, you take away your separator. You'd have to actually add more separator in there. So it's just better just to live with it, cure what you have, and then come back later and put separator on the model and the retainer back on there, and just add a little bit of acrylic later. So that is ready for the pressure pot. So this one into the water, and then this one on the cup. I'm going to grab that very first one we did, and we're going to try to separate it. First, I'm going to relieve the sticky wax holding the wire down, and then I'm going to try to slide, and we can do this under this camera, you can see it better. I'm going to actually try to slide my knife up underneath that cut I did and just rotate my knife. So I'm just rotating. You can kind of see that it's good with these clear. You can almost see that air go up underneath there. And you just got to be gentle with it. Again, you'll break the retainer before you're going to break the model. So you got to be gentle with it. I'm just slowly working my way around. There we go. And you see the underside. Let's separate one more. Alright, so I'm going to just remove that sticky wax while it's warm before it sets up again, gets hard. I'm going to slide my knife. Oh, you're not even seeing that. Slide my knife up underneath. And start teasing it around. This one may be a little tricky because of this. Because I didn't get a good clean. There we go. These deep pallets are tricky. Oh, come on. Don't break on me. There we go. And notice I'm using more of a as a elevator, a levitator. You know, I'm not sliding it underneath like this and then twisting it back toward me. Get that in the picture. I'm not twisting it back toward me, because that's going to take this acrylic and bend it this way, and that's where you get the breaks. So I'm just kind of elevating up. I'm almost digging into the model and then trying to elevate it up. Now, one trick I like to do, I'm going to now take this, now that I've got some space here underneath the acrylic, I'm going to dip it back in the warm water. Or you could do this at the sink if you got some warm water at your sink. So I'm just going to dip this back in here like that. Let that water, you know, capillary action dig into the, or go into the model. So I've almost got this. I'm not sure what's holding this back, but definitely, oh, there we go. It's always scary. You see almost a flash of white. So then, there we go. So, what I like to, well, you didn't see that. That would have helped if you saw that. I like these parallel pliers. I think I got them from Great Lakes. So I'll just grab this and I'll pull it off. And if you do it the other way, where you actually, this goes into the acrylic, you drill a hole, and the other end of this goes into the acrylic. You can actually, if you have enough of it, you can grab it with your pliers and peel it off. And you got a nice clean slot here. And so when we trim this, let's see if I have a pencil here. We're actually going to cut here, and we're going to cut right between these teeth down to here. So we'll have a cut here and here. And so as I turn this, this whole section of acrylic is going to go that way. So depending on where you cut here, it's going to be important that you don't push on this 6, that's only going to push on that 7. But anyway, that's it. That's my 4. I was going to, let's see. Oh, I missed a lot here. Do you oscillate the 3D model? Oh, from Ukraine. Hello, Ukraine. Hopefully that's the same as Ukraine. I do. Right now I'm using this as my model separator. It's from EnvisionTech. I think it's called Dental Health, Desktop Health now. But that's the part number if you want to order it. And I paint when I'm prepping. Let me turn this off. Well, I'm missing my switch. So what I do is I paint a layer. I prep it, I wax out everything, I do all my prepping, and then after I've done the wax, I paint this on there with a paintbrush, let it dry, and then I do a second coat. So I do isolate. It's very important with these 3D printed models because the 3D printed resin, at least the resin I use, is very similar. It's a cousin to this resin I just now used to sprinkle. So they like to chemically bond together. So you definitely got to have that isolation. Now, who holds the patent to 3D model separator, I'm not sure, is Tri-Group Technologies. Like 3 group technologies. They have a thing called Siliform, and I've heard it's really good. Real expensive, but really good. Greetings, I missed the beginning. Oh, well, good. On YouTube, you can back up, so hopefully you catch up. I'll see you here when you catch up. And do you have any difficulties with your skin over the years if you've always modeled with your fingers? I haven't. Now, I've heard people that have been doing it for 20, 30 years, they suddenly have a reaction, an acrylic reaction, and it's horrible. Dried, cracked, they got to start wearing gloves. And then if they don't wear the right gloves, I use nitrile gloves. If they use powdered gloves or something like that, the powder will get into the cracks and make it even worse, and then they sweat, and then they open. It's terrible. So hopefully that won't ever happen. I've known 2 people so far. Jason Brown was actually one of them when I interviewed a few episodes back. That he had a reaction. He still does it by hand. He just had a reaction, and then it went away. And then now he's fine. But if you can get in the habit of using gloves, I would. I think you got to use nitrile. I think the regular gloves, whatever rubber is used, the monomer actually still gets through the gloves. So I think it's nitrile that you need for your gloves, because I think the monomer still bleeds through the other type. The pretty much, I think they're all nitrile now. I don't think they. I can't think of there's a protein on those other gloves that people react to. The rubber or silicone or whatever that is. One day, would you like to see how you make a night guard? Oh, I can do that. I got some that are coming through pretty soon. So I'll try to hold one back and do a Friday live stream. That does take a little while. So I'll have to choose. You'll have to tell me which one you want to see, the acrylic part or the acrylic trimming part, because I still do it the old school way. I wax out the border with wax rope and do it that way. And then I sprinkle it by hand, salt and pepper method like this. So anyway, Mr. No Name, you want a 24-hour stream? That'd be great. I actually thought about doing that. Just have permanent cameras set up, and then I can just turn them on and go. And I always wanted to create a YouTube series. I hear you, Pete. He's about to start. A YouTube series about just lab life in general, and just have daily episodes or something like a sitcom. Because sometimes it gets pretty funny here. Do you eat your chicken or only for eggs and emotional feelings? We don't eat our chickens. I don't think we could do that. We do eat the eggs. We don't eat enough of them because we got a ton of eggs that come in. And emotional feelings. My wife likes to do it. It's her hobby. She just loves raising chickens and ducks. Actually, where are they? Do I see them? I don't see anything out there. I do see the ponds. Of course, no one's out there when I'm filming, of course. Question. What color monomer concentrate can it be diluted with monomer? Is that JBC brand? Yes, that is JBC brand, and I believe she does sell the concentrate version, so you can buy it in concentrate and then you dilute it with regular clear. So like this raspberry, where does it go? I buy them in not pre-concentrate, already tinted, already done, already mixed, so I don't have to mix them because I know me, I'll forget a drop, and then there's a fluctuation in all my colors. You can do the same thing with the glitter. I think is you get a pound of glitter or whatever, and you can create your own. I just don't want to deal with all that, so I just buy them pre-diluted, and I buy them 2 ounces at a time because monomer does have a shelf life of like 6 months, and you can actually see on some of these that I don't use much. Do I still have? Yeah, like here's one. This is black cherry monomer, which is pretty cool. It's got a black with a red tinge to it. And this is my other black cherry monomer. And it's actually, I didn't use it for very long, and some polymer got in there, and this thing solidified. You can't really see in there, but it's kind of dark. But it's actually solidified in there. So I actually just buy 2 ounces at a time. And the biggest I buy are these 16-ounce clear. So I buy a clear monomer. This is what you would probably use to pre-mix if you want to use from concentrate. So I actually just buy it. It's just easy for me. And she's here in Texas, so I keep a pretty thin supply of acrylic. I usually only buy 4 ounces at a time with this, because if I get down to about here. Like I'm getting close here. I get down to about here, and that knows I write it on my list. I have a spiral next to me, and I write down what I need to order next, and I'll just say 4 ounces of whatever. I don't like having pounds of stuff that I never use. It's like yellow. For some reason, yellow never sells. But I don't buy. I just buy it pre-mixed to answer your question. I love the intensive colors. Yes, that's one of my favorites with JBC's colors. She's really formulated it. Like that was monomer. Like here's persimmon. It's very intense orange persimmon. It looks like persimmon, and then of course the dark purple, and then of course she's made light purple because people are used to light purple. And I mean, get this. This is actually black onyx. And what comes out is actual black. Let's see if I can switch cameras here. So if I have some polymer here, see, look how dark that is. And then if I go to some black cherry on the other side, This is how you would do half and half, by the way. So you can kind of see the slight difference between the two. So yeah, real intense colors. Have you ever tried using air pressure? Sometimes it causes a little popping sensation. Have you? Oh, I've heard about that. Like to remove the models. That's a good idea because I do have some right there. I didn't think about that. Just like I was using the water with the capillary action to get up underneath the acrylic, I could just blow some air. I'll try that. We'll see how that goes. Arkan, greetings, hello. After 30 years, you're immune. Yeah, I guess you are immune to having monomer and stuff. See, I'm itching to go wash my hands real quick because I got powder on there. But I think that's real important. Make sure after you're done, if you do use raw skin, go wash your hands, soap and water real good. Get all that excess off of there. I just do it because I'm used to it. You have any issues with your clear yellowing? Yes, it does yellow. This is the clear, and you can already see it's already, this is straight out of the bottle, like this. And over time, it does yellow a little bit. And so then that's why I like to use this, because this is, if you look at a color wheel, if you look at yellow, straight opposite of that, it's like purple violet. So if you put violet in it, it will actually counteract the yellow that happens. So that this will give you ultra clear retainers, and this will give you, let's see if you can kind of see. So that is tinted clear. So it there's no yellowing in that, from what you can tell. But and again, it's who you order from. JBC, I think they do these in smaller batches, so that it doesn't yellow over time. What advice do you have for beginners in orthodontics? Practice, practice, practice. If you can get some models, some wire, some pliers, just keep practicing, keep going. It's all about experience. Again, these videos like this help, but get your hands dirty with polymer and practice. Get you some dummy models and just pour an acrylic plate over and over and over again, and cure it and then trim it. And so just practice. You don't have to use actual cases that are going to go in a patient's mouth. Take an impression of yourself, pour it up, make a retainer, and then after you're done with it, try it in and see what you like about it. Make your own retainer. That legally, I'd probably say don't. I guess you do what you want, but make your own retainer. It'll open your eyes to what you're putting in people's mouths. Black like my soul. Well, you're in detention, aren't you? From up here, detention today. So I guess that is your soul is black. Fast air pressure shots, not slow, like just like a. Okay, I'll try that. So yeah, that's a good idea. I'm gonna try that. I'll probably do it off camera because that is gonna be loud on the camera. I was going to buy the start kit. Yes, I have. In fact, these little ones like this, the JBC starter kit, I want to say it's under $2,000, and it gives you every one of her colors. And if you have her color chart, I don't know if I have one close by. You can just use those color charts to give your doctors, and it's got all the colors on there. You don't have to create a color chart or anything like that. But these little 2-ounce bottles, you can't actually buy them, but all your acrylics come in these 2-ounce bottles, and you can see. Let's see if I turn my camera around. So you can see my acrylics here. You can see there are some that I don't use very much, so I'm still working off of that starter kit. And then once I need to reorder, so if I need to reorder Royal Blaze Yellow, I'll buy this 4-ounce. And so that's, these pearl, peach pearl, yellow pearl, all that stuff I don't use very much, but like blue pearl and pink pearl, I use a lot of those. And of course, mustard yellow, I don't use much of. Copper sparkle, which is actually really cool color. Same thing with the golden orange. Those are really neat, but I just don't use them much. That's another thing to think about. Some of these, and and you can talk to Priscilla about it. I don't order big pounds of. I don't think she even offers it. Some of these colors, the color fades over time because there's a chemical in there, and she'll tell you what chemical it is, like aqua. It starts losing its aqua-ness to it, especially aqua and crystal blue. See, it doesn't look as blue anymore in there. But anyway, yeah, a lot of those, the smaller ones, are actually from the little the starter kit we get from JBC. Okay, well, I'm going to end it there. Thank you again for watching. I hope this helped. If you have any comments, if you're watching this later, leave them down below. I'll be happy to. I'll do my best now to try to answer those. And if you haven't subscribed yet, go ahead and subscribe. Click the notification bell. I try to go live every Friday at noon. That's Central Time, U.S. time. But sometimes, due to scheduling and stuff, again, my wife and I own a small little lab, so sometimes we have to shift our schedule around depending on what the workload is, and I'll have to delay or go early. So if you hit the notification every time I say I'm going to go live, you'll get a notification on your phone or whatever you watch on, and that way you can make sure and catch the live stream, because I can, like we just did, I can answer a bunch of questions about acrylic and stuff afterwards, and I do enjoy that. So that being said, I am trying to get my subscriber count up, trying to hit maybe 25,000 by the middle of the summer. So if you haven't yet, subscribe, start bringing my count up, and share this with somebody you think would help you. That would help. So thank you again, and I'm going to hit my outro, so you may want to turn your volume down. Actually, I got another comment in. Okay, last one. Is it possible to use pigments in the automotive industry? Of course, plastic materials could still be from the dental field, but there are so many pigments that unfortunately don't exist in dental tech. Yes. Man, if you could call Priscilla from JBC, her number is on her website, jbcandcompany.com. I'll type it down here. If you could go to that website, there's a number there. If you talk to Priscilla, she can tell you all about pigments, and she's actually done a lot of pigments. Like, there's only one pigment you can use for blue, and so she has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 types of different blues, and she uses those pigments plus some other ones just to create those blues. I think, if I'm not saying wrong, but yeah, the pigments in there are very important, and I think what she told me is, like, the blue pigment, which is some oxide of something, is the only thing that produces a blue pigment in all the industries. So it's actually a really good question, and she's perfected it. Again, this is the first FDA approved orthodontic acrylic. So she's got a lot of knowledge, and actually she was at the conference this past year, and people come up to her all the time and ask her questions, and I'll actually try to get her on this channel at some point. We can ask those questions about that kind of stuff. So she's a wealth of knowledge. So anyway, oh, you're welcome. And orthodontists use Invisalign more than acrylic retainer, which is better? I'm going to say acrylic retainers, because Invisalign, there's some things that they really are only geared to last 18 months. Those are Invisalign retainers. They even say it in their own paperwork. They only last 18 months, and then you got to replace them. Now that's an income for the doctors, maybe, or they're nice and they replace them every 18 months. But I've seen retainers that are 20, 30 years old, made in the 70s and 80s. I've replaced them and fixed them before, so they last longer. And I think they're better with the occlusion, whereas the plastic on the occlusion, it causes open bites, from what I've heard, and things like that. So I think the clear retainers are nice. They're clear. They stay in. I have one myself, but I think they don't last the test of time. You got to constantly replace them. Whereas if you take care of your retainer, you keep it clean, you keep it away from your dogs, they'll last a long time. Keep wearing it every night. You're good. So, good question. So, I'm going to end it there. Thank you again for another episode of live stream with Retainer Designer, or Friday live stream. I'll see y'all. Oh, wait. No, I got to get the right background on. Here we go. All right. It's official now. All right. Thank you again for watching, and I will see y'all next time. And